The matchup of the year, the event of the decade. The race between the tortoise and the hare takes place February 1st during the fourth quarter. Vote on Twitter using hashtag Team Tortoise or hashtag Team Hare with hashtag contest, and you could win your own Mercedes-Benz Big Race viewing party. Visit bigrace.com for complete rules.
ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd Podcast.
My wife always says this. You deserve the life you tolerate. Let that sink in. You deserve the life you tolerate. Especially when you're an adult. You know what also America deserves? The politicians you elect, local or federal. This is not about politics. It's about honesty. I've said I only owe you two things. I owe you a hard day's work because you work your arse off. The second thing I owe you is honesty. I don't tell you about everything in my life. It's none of your business, some personal stuff. But I'm not going to come on here and fake it. I'm not going to come on here and make stuff up. I'm going to tell you how I feel, and how that lands in Philly or Dallas is how it lands. But I'm not going to be a phony, and if I get fired someday because you don't like me, okay, I'll go down head up high. Listen to this story. A Philadelphia city councilman is upset with the New Jersey governor, Chris Christie. He called him a fat blank. The councilman's mad, Jim Kenney, who apparently likes phony people. Jim Kenney likes phonies because Jim Kenney was mad at Governor Chris Christie because he was high-fiving Jerry Jones and cheering on the Cowboys as they took on the local Eagles. Hey, when you're across the river from Philly as a neighbor, you should have a little more common sense and a little more respect. No, what you're asking for him is to be inauthentic and lie. Chris Christie's always said, I'm a Cowboy fan. I mean, who you like at 9 is pretty much who you like the rest of your life. I didn't grow up in Dallas, but they were on a lot when I was a kid, so I kind of like watching them. Is Chris Christie supposed to lie? I remember one time when I lived in Vegas, I wore a Duke Blue Devil shirt, and they were a big rival for UNLV, and a guy says, you should wear a UNLV shirt. And I said, get out of my face. I like to root for kids who go to class. We live in a mobile society, folks. 50% of Los Angeles is not from there. Get over it. I'm not saying local doesn't matter, but we have a new society now. Not everybody's from the hometown. You're a politician. All I want from you is this. Be honest with me. Don't BS me. If school funding's an issue, tell me. I'm a grown-up. I can handle it. If we have law enforcement budgets that need to be expanded, tell me. I'm a grown-up. I may disagree, but I can handle it. And if you don't like my local team, who gives a rip? I'm more sophisticated than that. I don't need you to wear a ball cap and root for my Lakers. You deserve the politician you elect. People get phonies because that's what you want. Jim Kenney wants a phony. I want a guy that's honest. Chris Christie has the courage to go, I'm in this area with Jersey Eagle fans. I'm a Cowboy guy. Oh, my bad. Would you prefer Hillary wearing a White Sox cap and saying I'm a South Sider? Hell, Southampton? What do you mean a South Sider? Is that what you want? Chris Christie had the guts to say, yeah, I know this is going to be unpopular, but, you know, this is the team I like. I would vote. If I had a vote in that district, I would do something illegal and vote for him 10 times. And that's honesty. I mean, social programs, tax issues, school funding. Nah, he didn't vote for he doesn't like my football team. You get the politician you deserve. And if you're offended by him, you should thank him for having the courage to be honest and tell you something about school funding and football you don't like. You know, two things make smart men dumb. Beautiful women in sports. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. That people are outraged by a governor. Stanzik, you're laughing at me. It is, you deserve the politician you elect.
Well, I think you just contradict yourself, to be honest with you. If you're mad that these people won't vote for him because of this, you just said you'd vote for him for it.
No. Because I'd vote for him for his honesty, for being authentic, because everybody's lying to you. He's got the guts to go, hey, I know this is going to be wildly unpopular, but it's who I am. I don't need you. I like Greek food. If you hate it, am I not going to vote for you? It's a football team. By the way, here's Christie's reaction to the uproar.
People want to say some things today. I understand they're angry and upset, But I had a good time at the game last night. I enjoyed myself, and I'll continue to have a good time rooting for the Cowboys. I call it as I see it, and I'm not going to be one of these politicians who changes their sports team loyalties just to score political points.
Thank you. By the way, remember Hillary changing accents to pander to the South? I mean, Hillary goes to Georgetown, an hour later it's like, hi, y'all. I just had some grits. Vote for me. Give me a break.
Yeah, but they wouldn't do it if it didn't work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about the public. You deserve what you tolerate in life. If you are really can be swayed because somebody has your accent or what do you do with my kids at school? What do you do in law enforcement? Are they well funded? What are you doing about tax issues? God, it's embarrassing. Buy and print postage right from your computer, Stamps.com. Special offer, go to Stamps.com, click on the mic, enter Colin. Here's another thing I'm all worked up about. I won't have time to give this one what it needs.
Are you going to be okay today?
God, it drives me nuts. The president of the Cleveland Patrolmen's Association, it's a union there, on Monday, refused to back down from criticizing a Browns player as pathetic for wearing a shirt calling for justice for 2 unarmed black men who were killed by police officers in Ohio. The president said basically, it's pathetic when athletes think they know the law. They should stick to what they know best. It's not a call for justice. Those cops were justified, and they're talking about a 12-year-old kid who was waving a gun at a park, which these days you don't do. But I'm not going to get into that. You know what I said about this. I'm not a big fan of cops elevating conflict with PR releases. But let me also say this in defense of cops. I want you to pretend you're a cop. You carry a loaded firearm, which statistically elevates your death risk. You now deal with liars, deviants, and criminals on a regular basis, which statistically elevates your death risk. You have 2 beautiful daughters at home, too. Cop does. Increasingly, people are getting indignant with police, which elevates confrontations, which statistically elevates your death risk. Did I say that cop's got 2 beautiful daughters at home? The media now plays a very dangerous game, treating law enforcement as a hurdle to safety. They're a hindrance to freedom and order. No, they're not. Stop lying. There's bad pilots, surgeons, and teachers as well. I don't know what it's like to be black and deal with law enforcement. I don't, so I'm not going to pretend I do. But you don't know what it's like to be a cop. It's tough. Violence, men beating women, rape, assault. You know what that's called for a cop? His office. Every day. Okay, cops don't wake up seeking Ferguson, Missouri. They can make mistakes along the way in any community in America. Doctors, cops, and pilots, yes, some have God complexes. But we also ask them at times to save us, be it from turbulence, dying on a table, or chaos in our streets. Cops aren't perfect. Either are the people like myself who have to regularly call them.
Colin Cowherd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
What's happening in the NFL right now is fascinating. Everybody needs a quarterback, and I was laughing yesterday that New York was rooting to lose because they wanted to get Marcus Mariota. That is the last place in the world that kid should go. They'll make him start immediately in a windy stadium in a dysfunctional, chaotic organization. That kid needs to go somewhere and sit for a year, put on 10 pounds because he's too skinny, and maybe he'll be able to put on 10 pounds, sit and learn, have him play by week 10 of the second year. Try to get him. I think his arm's okay, not great. He comes from a spread offense in college. That's a different sport than what they play in the NFL. Sam Bradford figured that out. So it's funny. Certain teams in sports, it's all about the off season. Mariota in New York is not working. If you didn't do anything in New York, get a veteran quarterback who can deal with the media and the chaos in the organization. You don't want a rookie from Oregon, Hawaii, 18 time zones away, start day one, new coach, media's bloodthirsty. That would be a disaster. Disaster. We also have, but it's funny because people keep asking me because I spent a lot of my time in Oregon. What do you think of Mariota? Well, I like him as a kid. I like his maturity, and I like his work ethic. He looks thin to me. And Oregon, every one of Oregon's quarterbacks are great. They've been great for 15 years. They're all great. Joey Arrington was great. Dennis Dixon was great. One after another. It's like BYU in the 80s. Now, BYU did produce Steve Young, who was great, but they produced a lot of Ty Detmers. So you got to be very careful. Oregon runs an offense with a lot of misdirection where Mariota is throwing to wide open primary receivers. Remember Trent Dilfer was on a couple of weeks ago before the Heisman? And Trent Dilfer said this. What Oregon's doing is not even close to the NFL. USC's offense looks more like the NFL. Alabama's offense looks more like the NFL. Oregon's offense looks more like NAIA 5 years ago.
85 to 90% of the quarterbacks in college football are going to throw the ball at their first read. If you watch Marcus Mariota play, who's a phenomenal talent, who will be an early pick, I get it all. There will be some rough transition because he throws the ball 90% of the time to his first read, just like RG3 did at Baylor.
Be very, very, and I'm not saying he's going to bomb, because I think he's a really good kid. Jameis Winston, I think, has all the NFL tools, makes all the right throws. I question his maturity. All pass. Marcus, I think he has all the maturity, all the IQ, all the good stuff. I think he's thin, and I think he will not succeed if he has to go start day one, northern climate, cross the country, dysfunctional organization. He's not Dan Marino. He's not John Elway. He just can't survive regardless of what's around him. He needs some help, and he needs time, and he needs 15 pounds. The other thing that there is, before Bill Polian comes on in 10 minutes, it's very interesting what is going on right now in Michigan. They're in a very, very interesting spot here. Michigan Wolverines, like Texas, is one of those top 15 jobs in college football. Texas, Charlie Strong was about their 8th choice. But they made it sound like, oh, Charlie was our guy. We never talked to Nick Saban. Yes, because you played the game. You talked to his agents or his representatives. That's what Michigan's doing. Michigan is never going to go out and say, yeah, we talked to like 7 guys. They all turned us down. You don't see movie studios go, we wanted Bradley Cooper, but he turned us down. So did Brad Pitt. And so we settled for, Brad Smith. They don't do that. They're like, oh, we wanted that guy. We know you've never heard of him, but that was the guy we wanted. That's what these major, institutionally arrogant institutions do. Texas, Michigan, USC. Hey, Ohio State, this is our guy. It's always who we always wanted. We always wanted this guy. There's stuff going on. There may be deals already in place here. But I'll tell you, Michigan's in a very interesting spot. They have a major talent deficit. Every day without a head coach, recruits are being gobbled up. Okay, and so if you don't hire a college coach today, and they could, and you wait for an NFL guy, as great as Jim Harbaugh is, it took him 3 classes at Stanford before they were 12-1, and that was with Andrew Luck. You're not going to get an Andrew Luck. He's generational. You're not going to land Elway. You're not going to land Andrew Luck. You're not next story. So there are very few elite players at Michigan. Every day you wait for the perfect hire, players getting gobbled up. So you have a deficit, and this could be a terrible class. It is a very dangerous game. Do you notice how quickly Nebraska and Florida hired coaches? They wanted to stabilize their recruiting. There's an old saying, hire slowly, fire quickly. That's the saying. Hire slowly, fire quickly. That's what Michigan's doing. But college football is very, very tricky. You show up late to the party, all the appetizers, they're gone. In college football, those coconut shrimp and bacon wrapped scallops, Jim McElwain's got them in Florida. You sit around and wait for a month, all the apps are gone. And Michigan's got a major, major talent deficit right now to Ohio State. Forget the SEC and the Pac-12. So what you're reading right now is they want Harbaugh. Hey, who doesn't? Well, San Francisco, but beyond that, who doesn't? But be very careful. In the NFL, it doesn't matter. Because if you fire a coach, you still keep your scouts. It's not going to disrupt your draft. You just want and Harbaugh doesn't want to be the GM. That's overplayed. He doesn't want to be a GM. He wants to be a coach. He wants an occasional opinion during draft day, but he doesn't want to be GM. So in the NFL, it doesn't matter. You can wait, you could hire a guy after the draft. But in college, the next 3 weeks, there's like 20 players in the country that Michigan would love to have. They'll be gobbled up. By January 10th, they can be gobbled up. You got to get hired. You got to put a staff together. That's not easy. That is not easy. All right, Marcus Mariota, Governor Christie, Harbaugh, Mike, you're in the herd on ESPN Radio. Mike, go ahead.
Hey, Colin. On the Marcus Mariota thing, I just wonder if we're just letting this guy's nice guy image, which I'm sure he's a great guy, just cloud everybody's judgment on what he's really going to do in the NFL. I see Colin Kaepernick without the arm. I don't see anything that translates to the NFL. I don't see Luck. I don't see Breeze. I don't see Brady. I see a guy that runs a veer offense where the pass is usually the third option. The running back's going to get the ball. He's going to run it, or maybe he'll pass. I don't see that he's ever been in a big game in college, and I just wonder, what are people seeing that maybe I'm not seeing that this guy's going to translate in anything special?
They're seeing massive maturity, 6'4", wonderful kid, running a kind of a...
It's a veer. It's Texas Tech offense. No. They've never produced a good quarterback. Neither has Oregon. I mean, I get what you're saying. He's a good guy, but are all these bad things with Jameson making people give this guy too much credit in regard to his potential in the NFL? I mean, good guy doesn't get you wins in the league.
No, but there is a sense of maturity. I mean, the one thing that Breeze and Russell Wilson and Luck and Brady all have in common, they're adults. They were grown-ups at 23. Thank you for the call. They don't have to babysit them. And I've said this before. I don't want to babysit Johnny Manziel. I got no interest in that act. Sorry, point guards and quarterbacks, come ready to play. I don't care about if you had trouble at home, I feel terrible. I don't care if your dad was an entitled oil baron or in prison. You got to come at 22 as an adult, ready to go now. Otherwise, I'm going to go through 2 GMs in the NFL. So with Marcus Mariota, you get massive maturity. You get maturity. He's a grown-up. He's ready to go. But he needs to gain weight, and I worry about Oregon. That system is collegiate. Very, and not just collegiate, very collegiate. All right, let me take this call real quick. Cody, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Hey, Colin. Love the show.
Yeah.
A couple weeks back, you mentioned that you talked to an agent or you talked to somebody who knew of a Michigan job, and maybe that'd be breaking too. Just wondered if you could give us an update on that.
I am going. It's not a breaking story. You guys are jerks. The guy asked a legitimate question, and you goofballs back there you've become a sports blog. I'm working with a sports blog trying to find controversy here. Yes, I'm going to talk about that later today, and thank you for the call. What I said a week ago is I heard a dark horse candidate who I thought was great. Not getting mentioned anywhere. I think he would be great at Michigan. You'd love. In fact, Stanzik, I told you who it was today. It's not breaking. I just told him who it was. And don't. But did you like the name?
I did.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, exactly.
Never would have thought of him, but makes a ton of sense.
It does, and we have to. Here's my hint. Okay, we have to wait. In about 2 weeks, there's going to be 24 coordinators or head coaches available NFL Black Monday. There's my hint. He may not be one. It is just a name. 2 people have noted to me. He is not, in my estimation or understanding, shown interest, but it's a name out there. 2 people have said, I think it's great.
Putting style in black T-shirts. It's Colin Cowherd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
This time of the year, you're out a lot. You're at your coffee joint. You're at the mall. You're going on vacations. There's a lot of people to tip, right? There's a lot of people to tip right now. So the guys hand me the ultimate guide to tipping this holiday season from the Etiquette School of New York. Oh boy, I'd be an interesting fit if I went there. The Etiquette School of New York, the ultimate guide to tipping. You cannot believe how confusing tipping is. Just among child care. You tip the housekeeper different than the nanny, different than the dog walker, different than the daycare provider, different from the child's teacher, and different among music teachers. There's like layers of what you should tip people. It's not my job to guess how to tip people. I don't have a clue. I always figured 15-20% was not 20% generally works for everybody, right? But apparently not. Here's my thing. We're moving to a cashless society. Just the reality. I don't carry a ton of cash. I don't carry wads of singles. And I'm not going to. Okay, it's not going to happen. So you have to figure out these tips. People that serve for a living get mad at the public. I wish they'd get mad at their employees. Why don't all these companies build in tips? I would have no problem if I went somewhere, if the hotel I stayed at, I'm going to be in a hotel room all of January. I'm going to be in Pasadena for 4 days, California. I'm going to be in Texas for 6 days. I'm going to be in Phoenix, Arizona for about a week. I would have no problem. $3 a day, added surcharge. But now, when I'm in this hotel room, every day could be a different person making my bed. Do you tip each one? Or do I just tip 20 on Friday, and the lady on Friday gets 20, and the other 4 get stiffed? What are you supposed to tip people in a hotel room? So, like, instead of getting mad at the public because it's increasingly becoming a cashless society, go yell at your boss who doesn't build it in. You should see this thing I just got on the tip etiquette of New York school. Here's what it says. For a housekeeper, 1 week's pay. For a nanny, 1 month's pay. For an au pair, 1 week's pay and a small gift. From a babysitter, 1 night's play plus a small gift for your child. For a daily dog walker, 1 day's pay. A daycare provider, $25 to $75. For a teacher or a coach, a small gift. How am I supposed to? I don't have any of those. I don't.
Yeah, well, you have a babysitter, don't you? Do you get a babysitter a Christmas gift or a holiday gift?
I pay her $15 an hour. That's the gift.
Yeah, but I'm sure your wife got her something for the holidays.
Starbucks card?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Am I a jerk for saying that?
No, I think that's fine, but it's the season of giving.
But I would rather overpay during the year to get better service and more access.
Colin, can you get that sheet again? What does it say for a show staff? What's the going rate to tip them?
Stiff them. They're mostly greedy, needy jerks. That's what it says for show staff. Okay, hairstylist. The cost of 1 visit. Okay, that's what you give them for Christmas. A shampoo person, $10 and a small gift. A pedicurist, I don't do any of this stuff, $25. A massage therapist, $15. So if you have first of all,
Colin, what about a dog whisperer communicator?
You know how much
that on there?
My wife's using a dog whisperer. Listen to this. Chris Rock, top of the hour. You want to know the truth? I got a letter and a book sent to my house yesterday from a fan, that freaks me out, who said that she has used dog whisperers, and they work. And by the way, dogs go to people heaven, which I didn't know. I had no idea. Well, I haven't been to heaven yet. So.
I think you skirted the question. Did you tip? Or do you tip?
I would never use a dog whisperer. My wife did, so I don't know if she did. But dogs go to people heaven. I was informed of that yesterday. It's a big milk bone on the gate.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
Chris Rock, oh man. We were just talking about, it's so funny the world we live in. Seinfeld did stand-up. Chris Rock joining us.
Yeah.
And then he went into TV, and then Eddie Murphy went movies, and Bill Maher goes politics, and that's what Dennis Miller's doing. Has stand-up, Chris, lost its luster? What's wrong with stand-up like Carlin?
I know. People always, when it's weird, you get famous doing stand-up, and then people just give you offers to do other things. It's like, well, now you got to do movies. What about stand-up?
Aren't you loyal to stand-up?
I'm kind of loyal to stand-up. I mean, I got a movie out, top 5.
Yeah.
But I love stand-up. I love stand-ups. I just love hanging around stand-ups.
It's fun.
Talking to them.
I just watched your Ricky Gervais, Seinfeld, Louis C.K., and you were sitting down. What was that called?
I forget what it was. I just remember Ricky calling all of us up, and we're like, okay.
It was on HBO.
Yeah.
It was fascinating.
Thank you.
I have this theory I wrote about in my first book that, 8 people bought. And it is that everybody takes turns being the funniest guy. You're one of 20 people who have been the funniest guy in America. And you've maintained yours. But after like the 3rd home and the 7th Lexus, hard to be funny when you're wealthy.
So hard.
So when you have a life that is without as many struggles, is it harder to write comedy?
No. I mean, you just need people in your life that don't like you. People that don't respect you. You need family members and
you stay
loved
close.
ones that just like could care less.
Okay.
My kids don't think I'm funny. My kids are like, that Kevin Hart's funny. That's my kid. My oldest daughter's like a Kevin Hart fan.
That hurts.
It hurts. But you knew it was coming.
You're not always on, though. You don't seem like that guy.
No, but part of the reason I'm not on that much, I try to save it for when I need it.
Right.
The
energy or
I'm
the
on
material?
radio now. I kind of need it. Why waste it at the guy, when I'm buying a bagel? I should have it right now.
Right now is the time to deliver it.
Dunkin' Donuts earlier. Why be funny there?
I talked to a guy named Dan Whitney, who's Larry the Cable Guy. And
Don't brag.
Sorry about that. It's called a humble something on Twitter.
I'm just saying, Larry the Cable Guy is one of the great comedians of our time.
He said
he is about as funny as a guy. He's an underrated funny guy.
And a dude, like a good dude.
I don't think I've met him. I just anytime he's on the Tonight Show or something, I always watch.
Now a lot of comedians don't think it's sophisticated enough.
So what? The hell with him. That Larry the Cable Guy's hysterical. He's a great, great, great comedian.
The critics, though.
Who cares? That guy kills.
Oh, no. He did 53,000 in Nebraska.
Yeah.
But he told me he was glad you stopped doing college. I told him that, Chris Rock's moving off colleges. And he goes, good. He goes, I don't know, Chris, but I'm glad. And Bill Maher, Cal Berkeley said, Bill, get out of here. We don't want you. What has happened to college campuses?
I mean, kids are just very conservative. And not in a, right or left way. Not like they're Republican or Democrat. It's just they're very, you got a generation of kids that were born where there's no score in the game. And so they want their comedy either really dumb and, like college used to be Berkeley and ideas. And now it's kind of either conservative or girls gone wild. There's no real middle ground.
And so you have to really hit it right and pick your spot.
Yeah, you got to really pick your spot.
You've never bombed, though.
I bombed.
You bombed?
Anybody that's good bombs. You bomb every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
A bad show.
That is segment once.
But always because you're trying. You're not a lazy radio guy. You know what I mean? You're not a lazy TV guy. You go for it.
Yes.
And the people that go for it are going to fall on their face sometimes.
Last time you bombed.
Ooh,
now, bomb is relative.
Bomb is
a show that you walked off the stage. You were like, "Dan, that wasn't great."
I don't know. Mississippi one night. I don't know. I can't name the exact date, but I've had them.
What is funny now?
What is funny now? Louis C.K.'s funny now. Larry the Cable Guy's funny now. Amy Schumer's funny now. Hannibal Buress is funny now. There's a lot of funny people out there. Tony Rock's funny now.
But what from a content standpoint is politics funny?
It can be. I mean, politics is so covered now. Like in the old days, when you had a political comedian, there wasn't 24 hours of news on every day. So the political comedian, meant probably a little more back in the day. I mean, I think Jon Stewart does a very
yes. Like his opening 11 minutes is really strong.
It's really strong, like every night, man.
When you met your wife,
right?
Was the pickup line humor?
Was the pickup line humor? I don't even remember what the pickup line was.
I'm not saying you use one, but does a comedian all right, third line, second act, Portland, Oregon a month ago, or do you just, You
use what you got. If I had muscles, I would have flexed them. So I flex my comedic muscles.
Do you find that when you go in public, be funny?
Well, put it this way. Wherever there's a mic, people expect you to talk. So I can if I'm walking by a funeral, somebody will go, "Hey, man, could you say a few words?"
You get a lot of that?
Yeah. Or at, anybody's graduation or anything. Wherever there's a mic.
Who's a guy I always thought was organically funny was
Colin Quinn. Colin Quinn's, one of my oldest friends.
I think he's very organically funny.
He's hysterical.
Are there people... I always said, you're the Muhammad Ali of stand-up.
Oh, no.
No.
I mean, the greatest to ever live.
You're the greatest performer.
Oh, thank you. But
you are
the greatest of all time.
Who had great material but struggled to perform? I always argued Mitch Hedberg.
Mitch Hedberg made that into his performance.
Nervous?
Yeah, like that became like I suck on stage, and that became his thing, you know. Dimitri's good. Do you ever watch Dimitri Martin? He's a really good low-key personality.
No.
Guy. Oh, he's great. Great. He's got great.
Very low-key.
Very kind of, very low-key. Mild-mannered, I should say.
In Hollywood now, if
Jim
there's...
Gaffigan's like that.
Jim Gaffigan's a good dude, too.
Jim Gaffigan is
He's
so
really funny.
Man. He's so funny.
What do you make now? You find increasingly in America, we got all these big social stories, and I mean, from Cosby to Ferguson to, and often Chris
Black Annie. Annie's black. It's just crazy.
Charles Barkley.
Egyptians are white and Annie's black. What's going on?
And you and Charles Barkley.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Me and Barkley.
Are you?
When are me and Barkley in the same sentence?
No, but I'm saying you are both.
Am I getting rebounds
for social
really
opinions? Are you comfortable?
Are we really asking Charles for?
Well, I mean, I don't.
I love Charles. Charles is one of the greatest people in the world to bump into. I don't know if you want to make plans with him, but if you are out somewhere and you bump into Charles Barkley, it's, hey, Charles, what's up? And you are gonna have a great time.
Do you go out much?
I don't go out much, but I've bumped into Charles Barkley before.
Ever
always good.
Ever bumped into a celebrity that wasn't great?
I can't say.
I've had one of those, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, it can be really weird, especially when they're really famous and you don't feel like you can get away. You're like, can I leave now? Can't leave now.
Chris Rock joining us to Herd on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio.
The movie Top 5 in theaters now. I forget to plug the movie. Sorry about that.
Please go see my movie. It's funny, I'm telling you. We'll talk sports. I don't care.
Larry the Cable Guy.
I love sports. I love comedy.
Larry the Cable Guy said...
Who'd you beat up today? How bad did you beat Jay Cutler today?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I think he's enigmatic. You know my theory on this, Chris?
What's your theory on that?
We all blame the enigmatic guy. Ocho, Cutler. They're the only honest people in sports. Ocho told me he had issues. So it's my problem if I don't buy it. Jay Cutler's enigmatic. Since college. Shame on me for not figuring it out.
Okay.
Terrell Owens was like, hey, I got issues here.
Terrell Owens.
Everybody else has a PR handler, is BSing me.
Okay.
I like the guys that are Johnny Manziel. I'm not going to draft him ever.
It was the only game I bet on last week. It was just like...
You bet on him?
No, I just knew he wasn't going to... It was like the whole sports universe was taunting the Cincinnati Bengals. It's like the whole world said the Bengals suck. And watch them suck this week. And they just said, F you guys.
How much you bet?
A good amount. I knew there was no way in the world he was going to win that game.
Do you and Seinfeld, would you talk, what's regularly conversing with Seinfeld? Do you talk once a month?
Yeah, probably once a month, a couple of times a month. You know.
How about...
We've been talking a lot lately about current events. I literally was talking a half hour ago.
And it's a serious conversation.
You know, guys, bitch about their wives and,
join the club.
Join the club. That's what guys do. They get together, and we all kind of share one.
Hey, by the way, I know you're a big Knicks fan.
Whew, yes, I am.
That's working out well.
No, it's the first year. First year under the new regime, new coach.
How long you going to hold on to that one?
It's a rough one, man. I mean, I like Melo, but there is... Signing Melo's kind of like the Mets signing David Wright. Like, what's the point if you're not going to surround him with players? You know what I mean?
I've never liked David Wright as much as the New York media, and I've never understood Melo's act. But
they're the same guy.
You can't win a title with them, but they're seen as title drivers. They're seen as Kobe, and they're not.
Right, I do. David Wright does have an amazing image for a guy
who's a 270 hitter.
270
yeah. Good seeing you. Nice meeting you, man.
Good meeting you, man. Did we just diss David Wright? Come on.
No, I like him. I like him. But let's not elevate him to A-Rod in his prime.
No.
Completely different level of player.
Completely different level of player.
Like Melo, not Kobe in his prime.
No. Kobe and Melo are probably tied right now.
For what?
I'm just saying that's how good Kobe is. At 30, whatever, 9 or whatever.
Guy.
He's probably as good as Melo.
Yeah, and they both have health issues and shoot too much.
Yeah.
Chris Rock, the movie is top 5 in theaters now. We got to break the Herd on ESPN Radio.
Want more of the Herd? The Thundering Herd Podcast.
4 Rings. Bill Romanowski's joining us. It's funny. Like certain cities, when you played in Green Bay, Bill, it feels like the people of Green Bay, and this is, I guess it's a shot, need the NFL. Like when you played in Southern California, did it ever feel like that?
Colin, you got me?
Yeah, I got you, buddy. Did you?
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting you say that because Green Bay was so special. It's like you're driving through these neighborhoods, and all of a sudden, there's Lambeau Field. And then, playing down in L.A., it's, when I was at San Francisco, my first preseason game was playing the Raiders at the Coliseum, and there were an awful lot of 49er fans there. And it was never like the Raiders completely owned that market. And then we played the Rams there every year over in Anaheim, and it never seemed like they could sell out that stadium, and we always had a lot of 49er fans there. So, you know what, I kind of agree with you. I think the NFL needs L.A. a lot more than L.A. needs the NFL.
How do you think Harbaugh fits with your old team, the Raiders?
I don't think he does. Is he a great football coach? Yes. But you're seeing now with distractions and a quarterback who's not playing very well how good he is right now. I think he's lost the team, and with that being said, they're not playing that well right now.
Give me all the NFL coaches you had. Give me your head coaches. Give me all of them. Can you remember all your head coaches in the NFL?
Yeah, Bill Walsh, George Seifert, Ray Rhodes, Mike Shanahan, and Bill Callahan.
Okay, Bill Callahan.
And Rich Kotite.
Okay, boy, you had
my first year at the Eagles.
You had some winners there. Okay, here we go. All right, so Shanny and Ray Rhodes. You had some guys that really bombed. Was Walsh superior to all of them?
You know, what was special about him is very much like I would kind of compare him to Bill Belichick, is he brings in the right guys for his system.
Okay.
Bill Walsh was the first guy that brought in the perfect personnel for what he wanted to do. And because of that, he was successful. He built everything around the way he wanted to run an offense and the defense.
Was he significantly smarter than Shanny and Callahan and Kotite and Seifert? Or was it, because he's been seen as a genius, did it feel like that?
You know what? He was definitely, as a player, what he did is he kept the atmosphere light. He always had us laughing, and it seemed like he tried to take the pressure off of us, because my first year there, we won the Super Bowl, but we went through a stretch where it was not pretty midway through that first season, or my first season there, and he took the pressure and he tried to keep us, he tried to keep everything light with the team and take the pressure off of us so we could go out there and just play football. And, that seemed to work.
Now,
but when George Seifert took over the team, complete opposite. He put the pressure on the players. He didn't take on the pressure himself.
So do you think Harbaugh, and maybe he doesn't have an off switch, is just a little too intense and not light enough, perhaps?
You know what? I think the rah-rah I think it's gotten old there. I really do. And, with the defense statistically, the defense is still playing good football this year, but they're not the same without Willis and Bowman. They don't strike fear in opponents when they play whoever they're playing. There's no fear there with that defense now. And then Colin, they're not running, to me, when they were running the read option, they were having success with Colin. When they tried to turn him into a pocket quarterback this season, it has been failure.
You know, it's funny because he has regressed, obviously. Then you have a guy like Jay Cutler with talent, but everywhere he goes, it gets bad. Do you need your quarterback to be, I mean, Cutler is really talented, but he almost feels like he's a defensive end playing quarterback. He's grumpy. He's kind of negative. He's not uplifting. Do you need your quarterback to be an uplifting personality in the locker room?
Absolutely.
You do.
You know, when he walks on that field, just the way he walks out there, you need to know that you have a chance of winning the football game. I'm telling you, the first time I ever laid eyes on Jay Cutler, I said, you know what? There's something off there, and I don't know what it is. And later, you know, he became, you know, it was public that he became a diabetic.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I believe because of his blood sugar being off, he cannot carry it through an entire football game. Because there's times when he can get as hot as anybody. But when he is cold, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, and he showed that last night.
Well, Neuro One and Lean One, Nutrition53.com, you've been in that stuff for years. You know, we forget picking a side, but I'm seeing with the Rams and the Browns, players wearing T-shirts and making social messages. I'm fine with it. Fans don't like it. Where do you fall on the Rams and the Browns players and athletes in general saying, okay, I can't breathe, I'm pro this, I'm anti that? Does it bother you?
You know what? I don't mind guys having a voice. I really don't. I just think there's a place for it, and it doesn't belong out on the football field. If they want to do it in their social media, or they want to be able to say something after a game or during the week, hey, hats off to you. You have a forum because of who and what you are in the sport you're able to play, and because you're a talented guy. You know, but don't bring it out to the field. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, most people agree with you, Billy. My audience, the consumer doesn't like it. It doesn't bother me. I think everybody should have a voice. Did you ever play with a guy who was socially active?
I'm trying to think. I think one of the most socially active would have been Jerry Rice when he didn't get the football. You know, he let people know that it's not all right, and you better get me the football because not only do I want to win, but I want to catch a lot of touchdown passes.
Yeah, but he wasn't a guy that would take on some national...
Oh, no. It was because he was competitive, and it was because he wanted to be the best.
You know, but it's different, Bill. It's funny. You didn't grow up in the world of Twitter and social media. You're old school. I think, you know, it is a different world now where, like, the fans can literally communicate with a Bill Romanowski if you were a player and talk to you within 30 seconds. And I think increasingly agents like their athletes to be big brands. I mean, I think some of this stuff is like LeBron, I think, feels like he owes perhaps the black community, perhaps the world, perhaps the NBA. He owes the world leadership. So I think LeBron, that's how my takeaway is LeBron feels like I'm the guy that runs this sport. I need to take a stand. Maybe I'm wrong. That's what it feels like to me. It never felt like that with a football player.
You know what? I never felt that. You know, I never played with Terrell Owens, but back in, say, the late 90s, early 2000s, I would say there was a guy who needed it as much as anybody. He needed that attention. And if they had social media then, I tell you what, he would have been blowing it up. You know, and he and probably Chad Ochocinco would have been another one. The two guys that kind of stand out to me are those two guys. But, hey, it was back when I played, it was more old school.
Yeah, did anybody even talk about politics in the locker room during your day? Would that even be brought up?
You know what? It would be brought up. You know, when I was at the Raiders, Trace Armstrong,
yeah,
for sure. You could talk about anything with Trace Armstrong, and if there was a politician, he is a guy that definitely could run, smart enough to run and win.
Yeah, he's a powerful agent now in the football business. So
I know.
Nutrition53.com, 50% off, Neuro 1, Lean 1. Good talking to you, Bill.
Awesome, Colin. Take care.
You bet. Yeah, Trace Armstrong, former Gator, former Bear, is now he's one of the top 4 or 5 guys, one of these college football agents. He's probably got his hand in the Michigan job, and he's one of the big shots. Yeah, I mean, I think, the audience, my audience overwhelmingly doesn't like athletes. It's probably 70-30, 80-20 to not have an opinion on this stuff. As I said a couple of weeks ago, I was shocked by the number of sports fans that said, hey, sports is escapism. I've never seen it as escapism. I saw it as entertainment. I've never once gone to a game thinking, man, I'm escaping stuff. But, that's what a lot of fans think. Athletes have an opinion. I have an opinion. I'm okay with it. Politicians have opinions on sport teams. I'm all for opinions. Have opinions. If it ticks people off, that's the point of having them. Fresh, hot sports take. Yeah, and I like it even more if it's a fresh, hot sports take.
Technology gone bad. Gone bad. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
Bill Romanowski came on, and the guy knows nutrition. The 2 times I've, probably been 5 times I've been with Bill Romanowski in person with his wife. And the guy knows nutrition. He knows the body. And so when he talked about Jay Cutler and the diabetes, my first thing is, oh, God, some blog will go crazy with that. But he knows more than you do about that stuff. Bill is fanatical about his body and looks unbelievable, and his wife looks unbelievable. I mean, they are just absolutely in incredible shape. And, yes, Jay Cutler has diabetes, and that can affect people in different ways. But it's just interesting to talk about. It's something to talk about. I was watching Morning Joe this morning. I was watching SportsCenter for about 10 minutes, and I watched the highlights in the awful Bears-Saints game. Peter King will join me in 10 minutes, and they were just talking about a variety of subjects. And it is interesting that how worked up we get about sports opinions. They were saying, if you've ever listened to conservative political radio, those hosts yell and vent and scream and rant, and they're just entertaining. It's really not that outrageous. Is there a picture of Romanowski and his wife? Right there. Go to the upper left one. Yeah. He's great and she's adorable. Yeah. So, that he knows nutrition better than you and I do. I mean, he knows it, man. The guy's got his own companies. You look around the NFL right now, and I love the NFL. You look around this league right now, and it feels like there's 2 or 3 teams, Seattle, New England, Denver, Green Bay, but Denver looks like their vertical passing game, not so much with Peyton's arm, and Green Bay in the trenches can get pushed around. Green Bay can get pushed around. And if they're not playing in Lambeau, let's just be honest about it. They're not the same team. The Packers are not the same team outside of Lambeau. Now, I don't think Seattle's the same team outside of Seattle. I think New England's mostly the same team everywhere. I think New England's pretty much the same team everywhere. Let's go to, can I go to number 1? Let's go to Glenn. You're in the Herd on ESPN Radio. Glenn, go ahead.
Hey, Colin, how are you today? Love the show.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I've been one for 36 years. I actually played Division I quarterback myself, and you guys are dead on. It can have a major effect on your performance, your mood, your attitude, everything. I mean, there's no doubt that it can have a major effect in even your ability to throw a football correctly. If your blood sugar is, let's say, over 250 and you don't know it, it affects your ability to perform.
Let me ask a question about this, Glenn, because Jay Cutler is a hot topic right now. Are they going to re-sign him in Chicago? Are they going to trade him? And Peter King will be on in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes to talk about that. Now, you have diabetes, and do you still battle it on a daily basis?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's no exaggeration. I wear an insulin pump. I check my blood sugar 8 to 10 times a day. I get up every weekday at 5 o'clock in the morning to work out so that I can keep control of it. It's not a daily battle. It's a constant battle.
When you were quarterbacking, how did you monitor your diabetes?
Well, it was a little different back then. I played 25 years ago, so the insulin pumps weren't around like they were now. But, it's a very difficult thing to balance because if you take the normal amount of insulin it would take to keep your blood sugar at an acceptable level, then it's going to get low. because of the amount of exercise you're doing, and then you can't perform at all. But if you don't take the right amount, then it gets high and you can't perform as well, but you can't perform at all if it's low. It's a really bad way to say it, but it is an extremely difficult balancing act to try and figure out. And to be honest with you, I could never get it down to where I had it perfectly all the time. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, when Romanowski said that, my first thought is, well, he would know. He knows a lot of different athletes and a lot of things about the body. But Glenn, I appreciate you stopping by our show and updating our audience. That was good stuff. Mike, you're in the Herd on ESPN Radio. Peter King around the corner. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. That was my bad. Mike, my bad. Go ahead. You're in the Herd.
Right, yeah, after one of the tragic school shootings, Al Michaels went to NBC in halftime and spent several minutes talking about gun control. So my point with that is the networks with NBC decided to bring politics into football. So if they can do it, the players can do it. Now, I'll give your audience credit and everybody else because
say what?
Michaels did it. So people were consistent.
Yeah, I think when Bob Costas, I think when people have an opinion that bothers you, that's the point of America. You know, there's no beheadings here. I mean, you get a strong voice even against our government. That's what the First Amendment's all about. To criticize our government, protection from strong opinions against our government. So I'm not bothered by it, but a lot of fans are. A lot. Bob Costas will do a social commentary. He's earned the right to an opinion. And for the record, it's not in the middle of a play. It's before the game. Turn the channel. He's not doing it like second and goal to goal with a minute and a half left, and they're jamming in Bob Costas' commentary. It's before the game. Turn the channel. I'm not sure if the Bears would cut Jay Cutler loose. I'll ask Peter King, the MondayMorningQuarterback.com. Good luck. I mean, you know, good luck cutting these above-average quarterbacks loose. Go look at Tampa. Go look at Tennessee. Go look at the Jets. You could be searching for a decade.
Colin Cowherd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
By the way, whenever I have Romanowski on, people love him or hate him, and that's why I bring him on. I think he's interesting and polarizing. But when you meet Bill in person, he's really willing to say things nobody else will say. And I find a lot of coaches and players are boring. And Romanowski will just say, I think Jay Cutler's diabetes is part of it. And it's like, thank you. He's very direct. He's not trying to make, bon mots for the critics. He doesn't give a rip. And those are my kind of guys. I like people willing to say stuff nobody else will. I'll bring Romanowski on forever. People are looking for safe answers. He's not going to give them to you. He knows the dark side. And I'm telling you, I've talked to Bill personally. Bill knows the dark side that nobody wants to talk about. By the way, these are my 2 for the road stories. I just want to talk about each one individually. Forget 2 for the road. These are the most popular people in the world according to Google. Google just revealed its list of the most popular search terms. That doesn't mean they're popular, because Donald Sterling made the list. Okay, I'm tired of, like nothing against Renee Zellweger, but she had this massive, surgery, right? And so a lot of people have looked up Renee Zellweger in the last year because she had some plastic surgery. Nobody's going around talking about Renee Zellweger. It's curiosity. It's not popularity. You stop for a car wreck. It's not popular. You're driving on the freeway. You're like, oh, my God, tire fire. It's not popular. The other thing is, I've got some weird theories. I don't think milk's good for you. I think we're going to find out in a few years. It's like, don't drink that stuff. Earbuds, according to a doctor who's been treating patients for years, more than a decade, an audiologist says these earbuds that American teenagers are using, recent studies show it's damaging kids' hearing at an alarming rate. Can I just say this about, and you're going to think I'm out of my mind here. Have you ever held your cell phone for a long time or had it on? It gets warm. I mean, if you keep a computer on for a while or a phone, it can get warm, and you put it next to your head. I don't think that's great. These Bluetooth things, I'm not going to wear one. I'm not wearing a Bluetooth. It's a fine company. Go buy their stock. That's too much stuff going on next to my brain. My brain's already screwed up.
One, you sound just like my father. Two, how do you feel about microwaves?
I don't care about microwaves. I put a burrito in and I leave the room. Okay, I don't put it next to my ear. If I put my ear on the microwave door for 30 years, there'd be a problem. You put your cell phone next to your ear. If I put my cell phone next to my left ear driving around for an hour, my ear hurts. You know why? There's like rays going in there. There's stuff going in that head. You guys go ahead and laugh at me. Just funny. You strap an electric outlet to my skull. How's that good? My computer gets hot. My phone gets warm.
Don't you have an earpiece in right now?
Yeah, I hate this thing. That's why I'm deaf. I don't even like that thing. But this doesn't have any electric. This doesn't have anything electric to it. I can hear you with it. You think I'm nuts out of my... I guarantee there's an engineer listening. He knows the deep, dark secret of these Bluetooth things. Limited time offer, peppermint rose bouquet, 1-800-FLOWERS, save $20, 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Listen, I just don't want my head to be a generator, okay? I know you think I'm an idiot. Get an engineer on the line. I know I'm right. So I think milk is trouble. I think having phones next to your ears for 30 years, jamming it, talking all day. I turn my thing on, my phone a lot of times. I turn it on and I talk so it's 10 feet from my head. Okay, I'm just...
Milk was a bad choice.
You guys are jerks. I'm probably saving lives right now. I probably saved like 30 teenagers from having a fourth head. And you guys think it's funny. Maybe Uncle Ronaldo should be looked at as a Svengali, sort of a medical genius. But you can't tell me you think... Vince, you're generally a voice of reason. You have 13 kids, you better be. These guys I don't trust. Is there something there jamming a hot phone next to your head for an hour a day?
Yeah, there's got to be something. It's an electronic device.
Yes.
And our bodies react to that.
Yes. You think I'm just making it up, like it doesn't matter at all. Like if just a powerful signal, how about these Bluetooth jammed to my ear all day? You think I'm nuts?
Potentially, yes.
You know what? I'm trying to change the world. Okay, I'm trying to make the world a safer place. And if you guys don't understand that, all right.
I'm not saying it's a good thing to have that next to your ear, but it might not be a bad thing. I think we may have found out by now.
Well, anything next to your head, it's a good or a bad thing. There's no gray area. The only gray area is in the head.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast.